systems being prepared. Everything continuing to march forward for that on-time launch.
Was that the music being played inside the cockpit?
Can they hear you?
Obviously not. Husky. 1 second. Oh.
Why don't you like it?
I don't like stuff that gives me likes.
And so again, the service structure is coming back inside the
Oh,
service
yeah.
craft.
No,
And
yeah.
on top
So,
of that,
This is not to do with
Scott
NASA,
Kelly,
is it?
Kyle Kornienko,
What?
and Gennady
This
Fedorka.
launch.
No, it's just
Kelly
NASA
and
astronaut on
Kornienko are
board.
launching
Oh.
for the first ever year-long mission.
And this is the
on
first ever
International
year-long
Space
mission to
Station.
the ISS.
Why don't we take a few minutes now?
And how
find out
long are
more.
they
1 second. Damn it, I missed what they were going to say.
How long are they going to be in space for?
1 year.
Yeah.
Just shut up for a sec.
It's a
Listen to this.
destination for us to explore. It has so many scientific questions that we could answer, and it might actually be the first place where we find life beyond the atmosphere of our own Earth.
We're already working on what to do when we get there and how to protect the people who will make the trip.
We're doing quite a bit now, actually, in many different fields, medical, engineering, social sciences, to understand what we have to send people to Mars.
And much of that work is in progress right now on board the International Space Station.
Alexander Gerst, I saw him launch. That's a Robonaut. Saw the two of them, they're still up there. That's my favorite part.
Is this live?
First
Yes,
people
it's live,
flew
but
in
this,
space.
like,
We've
was
been
pre-recorded
studying
this
how
bit.
their bodies
Yeah,
react
so
in
most
an
of it's
environment
live.
where everything is up in the air because they're weightless.
You may develop motion sickness. You will definitely have
Life
fluid
in
shifts into your chest and head. You will lose muscle strength. You will lose bone strength. You will be receiving radiation that we don't receive on the ground. We're not sure exactly what that will do. Exercise is a very effective
And the
countermeasure.
rocket.
That
No, that's in the
drugs
ISS.
used for
And that's in the
osteoporosis
ISS?
have allowed
Yes.
us to eliminate bone
Where's the
loss
ISS at the
in
moment?
most or all of the astronauts that have
Probably just about to fly just a
and
bit away
take
from
drugs. But
Baikonur.
there's also the isolated,
Oh,
confined,
hey, he's
extreme
up there now.
environment that the astronauts
I
are
thought he
in.
was, like,
And
strapped
that's a
in between
challenge
two
to the psychology and
Alright, where
morale
is it?
and performance.
On the International Space Station, we've studied people in the space environment for 6 months at a time. But a Mars mission will take 5 times as long.
Mars missions may take 30 months start to finish. So I don't think it's a bad idea to start getting some longer experience on the International Space Station. to give
This
us an
is just
idea
flying
of
under
what's
South America.
awaiting us on these future
Oh, hey,
very long
Orion.
flights.
So the station partners are taking the next step. For the first time ever on this vehicle, a pair of crew members is going to space for a year.
My first flight was very rewarding. There are certain times that are, fun. It is very challenging to live on the space station for 6 months. If we're going to go to Mars, we need to understand how the human body reacts in space for longer periods of time.
Человечество по орбите все время летать не будет. Нужно осваивать новые планеты, нужно осваивать Солнечную систему. Это неизбежно. И этот полет как бы первый шажочек вот на этом направлении.
Station science during this year will continue to study bone and muscle weakness and psychological effects. But there are new goals too, like gauging how being weightless for many, many months impacts fine motor skills and restful sleep, and evaluating readaptation to gravity.
After the astronauts land in Central Asia, after the one-year mission, take them into a small tent and ask them to do certain very simple and very routine activities and measure how much they can and cannot do after the long period of spaceflight.
And the crew will use equipment that's already on board to try to quantify the fluid shift that is the prime suspect in vision changes, and maybe do something about it.
Wouldn't it be nice if we could change that fluid distribution in spaceflight and make measurements of the shape of the eye and other function and see if that really is the cause and the effect?
At the same time, Kelly and Kornienko and their crewmates will help with the development of technologies that will need to be improved if future deep space missions are to succeed.
The International Space Station is a test bed. It allows us to test our communications methods, perfect them, so that we know how to handle large delays later on.
Station robotics on ISS are developing tools that are going to assist crew members for future missions, especially long-duration missions to Mars. We're going to assist the crew members by having the robots do the repetitive tasks and also do the tasks that are in the dangerous environment that we don't want to subject our crew members to.
When we go to sit down and finally design the new next-generation regenerative life support for spacecraft to take us to Mars, we'll be able to draw on all the operational experience we've gotten with the space station systems to improve the system and make a more reliable and user-friendly system for the crew.
While fostering international cooperation and providing benefits to people on Earth right now, and serving as a destination for commercial vehicles and research, the International Space Station is enabling future space exploration. The trip to Mars starts right here.
And welcome back to our live coverage of this afternoon's launch. Scott Kelly, Gennady Padalka, and Mikhail Kornienko sitting inside their craft ready to go towards the International Space Station. Right now, suit leak checks and testing of the Soyuz descent module are complete. Finishing up just about a minute ago. But looking now once again at this one-year expedition, Scott Kelly, while he's in space, his identical twin brother, retired NASA astronaut Mark Kelly, who's actually out there in Kazakhstan ready to watch his brother head into space, is going to be participating in a number of comparative genetic studies. Some of these experiments will include the collection of blood samples as well as a battery of psychological and physical tests, all hoping to track any degeneration or evolution that occurs in the human body during that extended exposure to the zero-gravity environment, having a ground control down here and one in space. These twins with basically identical genetic structures. The new multifaceted national cooperation between not only
oh no, that's just the liquid oxygen that's used for one of the fuel that will kind of boil off. It's boiling off because, you know, it's cryogenic. Do you know what cryogenic is? It's like it's liquid at minus 200 degrees Celsius, so very cold basically.
Presented by Science at NASA. Consider a pair of brothers, identical twins. One gets a job as an astronaut and rockets into space. The other gets a job as an astronaut too. But on this occasion, he decides to stay home. After a year in space, the traveling twin returns home and they reunite. Are the identical twins still identical? NASA is about to find out. In March of 2015, NASA astronaut Scott Kelly will join cosmonaut Mikhail Kornienko in a one-year mission to the International Space Station. Their lengthy stay aims to explore the effects of long-term spaceflight on the human body. The interesting thing about Scott is he's a twin. His brother Mark is also an astronaut, now retired. While Scott, the test subject, spends 1 year circling Earth at 17,000 miles per hour, Mark will remain behind as a control. We will be taking samples and making measurements of the twins before, during, and after the one-year mission, says Craig Kundrat of NASA's Human Research Program at the Johnson Space Center. For the first time, we will be able to study two individuals who are genetically identical. The experiment harks back to Einstein's twin paradox, a thought experiment in which one twin rockets to the stars at high speed while the other stays home. According to Einstein's theory of relativity, the traveling twin should return younger than his brother. Strange but true. NASA's study won't test the flow of time. The space station would have to approach the speed of light for relativistic effects to kick in. Just about everything else is covered, though. NASA's Human Research Program recently announced the selection of 10 research proposals to study the twins' genetics, biochemistry, vision, cognition, and much more.